Hi there, everyone, and welcome back to Music Makes Everything Better. I am Daryl Lindenbach, and this is our fifth podcast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A weekly production of Music and Play where we sit around a piano, we play a few tunes. No, we don't play a few tunes. We chat about music. We chat about the world of music, teaching music, learning music, being a student, being a parent, being a teacher, all those good things in the hopes of becoming a more well-informed world about music. So this week joining us again, we have Colleen Lindenbach, founder and co-owner of Music and Play, Harold Squire, who is a program coordinator and admin here, and Kelsey Noble is back again, who is our EC and private music coordinator, plumber, jack of all trades.
I didn't know that one. That's a new one.
If she's a plumber, she's going to be getting all kinds of calls because they make more than doctors right now.
Yeah, well, no, as I learned yesterday with our home build, plumbers make more than doctors now. So,
well, maybe I should switch careers.
Yeah, well,
still time.
So let's discuss where music educators fit on
the pay scale.
Somewhere in
It's a passion.
Yeah.
It's a passion-driven career.
Yeah. On par with the stuff the plumbers pull out of the sink. No. There's an image for you. So, this week, we've gone through group music, we've gone through Y music, we've gone through private music, we've gone through all kinds of things. This week, we're going to get into everyone's favorite topic for parents and for students and for teachers. I don't want to practice. I don't want to. It's no fun. So, practicing.
Well, they're right. It isn't always fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I don't know, for me, like practicing kind of switched when I started focusing on practicing as a method of discovery on the instrument. So I was my poor piano and first flute teachers, I am so sorry to them. I was a terrible practicer. But as soon as I kind of realized that I could discover things on my instrument and I didn't just have to that's when it switched for me in terms of my mentality around practicing. So I think it's not always fun. Sometimes you need to work on things that are not fun. But I think you can find fun or challenge in those. And I think there's tricks to make it fun, even if it's not.
So what are some of those tricks? So why don't we start younger? Because again, this can be kind of all over the map. And if we're dealing with younger students, say up to what age? 7, 8? Is that a younger student?
That's a younger
That would be a
student.
younger
That is a very young student on some instruments. Some they haven't started. What's the key there? What makes it better for them?
I think consistency. Like consistency, making it part of your routine is a huge part of it because then it's like, maybe you don't always like eating snacks. I don't know. Maybe I'm hungry right now, but
Maybe you don't like eating
maybe
snacks.
I should eat my snacks. But maybe there's something that you don't like, but it's maybe you don't love brushing your teeth, but it's part of your routine. It's just something that you do every single day. So if it becomes part of a routine, then there's not the like, when am I going to do it? When am I going to fit it in? How, like, do I actually need to do it today? It becomes just part of it. So I think that's a big part of it. And then also practice games. I like practice games. Yeah.
Yeah, for that age group, definitely.
At that age, you're really talking about parents because it's very seldom. There are some. There's like maybe 10% of the student body at that age who will just go practice because they just want to go practice. They're intrinsically motivated. Intrinsic self-motivation does not normally come at that age.
No.
And that's why you will use little tricks and little devices to help them. And I know some families have issues with that because they're concerned that it should be intrinsic motivation. They should want to do this. Well, to which I say, do you want to go to work every day? But you go, don't you? Because you need the paycheck. A little extrinsic is not a bad thing. Our goal, of course, is intrinsic.
Yeah.
And frankly, the most intrinsically motivating thing that can happen is to spend time with your parent.
Yeah.
At that age, there is nothing more important. And I know the parents don't always agree or believe that, or frankly, they're so busy they don't just have time. And that's often why things go wrong, which is why the consistency is so important. If you say with your child, this time every day, I'm going to sit down and spend 10 minutes with you, 15 minutes with you, and I'm going to look at what you're practicing, odds are that child is not going to have a problem practicing, because there is nothing they want more than to spend time with mom or with dad or whoever is their practice partner. Even if they argue about it, if they know they've got that time, it's going to happen. And parents and whoever's being the practice partner, because it doesn't have to be a parent. I mean, I've had nannies do it, grandmas do it, right? You don't have to know what you're doing. I know that sounds horrible.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But you don't have to be a teacher to be a practice partner. Simply sitting and being the audience, and not the audience on your phone. Right? Not the kids know if you're paying attention to them.
Absolutely.
They know totally. But to give them that, I'm going to sit and, I'll watch you for 5 minutes, and I'm just going to and really honor your child with that full attention. Don't say I'm going to be here for 30 minutes, because we both know you haven't got 30 minutes. But you can find that time, or get them started and say, okay, I'm going to come at this time. And then when your kid says, Mom or Dad, are you coming? Actually go. Don't say in a minute. And I am guilty, which is why I can say all these things. I am guilty of this. It is so hard to get so busy.
So how much time? How much time this age would they be practicing?
It depends on the student, but I generally would request 15 minutes about that time.
Yeah.
Oh, see, okay, so I kind of go from the opposite direction. I start with 5 minutes to build the consistency, and then I build up the time from there. So that's usually now I work with much younger students.
Exactly.
So that might be a little bit of the difference there.
You're talking about like a 6-year-old. You're talking about like a 4-year-old.
A 4-year-old. Yeah. I'm like, let's get 5 minutes in a day, and then we'll build from there. And usually. Now, this is maybe me making assumptions, but if they sit down for 5 minutes, it usually will turn into 7 minutes or into 10 minutes. Or that's how I trick myself into practicing sometimes. Is I'm just going to go play for 5 minutes, and then I'm good.
Works at the gym, too.
Yeah, it's just like getting that started, right? It's just telling yourself, okay, I'm going to get started on this. I'm going to do 5 minutes of it. And
the consistency, like you said, it is a practice. It's something that you have to do. And as you do it, it becomes what you do.
Well, and I feel like it also feeds the intrinsic motivation part, because as you do it, as you are consistent in your practicing, then you hear the improvements over time. Now, that's why I think having a practice partner or having parents to help out is really beneficial, because it takes a lot. Like, music is delayed gratification to the max. Like, it takes a long time. So as you keep practicing, you see those improvements, and then that starts to feed the intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
Do you see it at a young age? Do kids see it?
Yes.
Or do they need to be told that it's better?
No, I think they do see it. It might show itself slightly different than an older student, but you start a 7-year-old, they can barely make a sound on their instrument.
Right.
3, 4, 5 months later, however long it takes, they do a scale. They know that. Okay. They absolutely can recognize that. As you get further along, it does get harder to see. And so I'll introduce recordings. I'll say, borrow your parents' phone, record yourself, and then play it back in a week and see what is different.
You're assuming the 7-year-old doesn't have a phone yet? I'm shocked.
I'm old school.
Let's get out the tape recorder.
Yeah, tape recorder. I got your 8-track.
There we go.
I still have a reel-to-reel someplace.
Nice.
So I went on the old school.
There we go. So if we get older, then what changes? If we go above 7, so let's go 7 to whatever, 14.
That's often when you start hitting a plateau.
Okay.
Because for the practice partner and for the kid, it's new, it's novel, it's exciting at first. And there is improvement that you can see. I mean, you couldn't play this song, now you can play this song this week.
It is a lot more
But
delayed.
you start getting a little bit more advanced, and suddenly they're discovering that, oh, wait, I'm in grade 1 music? But I'm in grade 3 at school. Why am I only in grade 1 music?
Why are they only in grade 1?
Well, because the conservatory system has nothing to do with the regular school system.
They have their own grade.
It's
Yeah.
grading based on a whole different program. There's a beginner, you're a
Yeah.
beginner for years, well, depending on the age, and then you can move into that, which is part of the difficulty with the conservatory system, that parents seem to think grade 1, they should be doing grade 1 and grade 1, which no. And then
No.
I try and explain, it's like, okay, well, grade 8 piano or any instrument is a grade 12 credit. Okay, let's work backwards.
Yeah.
Right? So they start feeling like, oh, I'm not good enough, or they have friends who are either gifted or who are, for sake of argument, I'll say it, being trained as pretty ponies. You know, they can play the song, they actually don't know anything, but they can play a hard song, and they start comparing themselves. And then it becomes, I'm not good enough. I heard that in one of my classes yesterday, and this is a second-year student, and he's going, she's better than me.
Yeah, and that's going to happen every day of your life.
Yeah.
In everything you
It
do.
is something you have to learn, which
Yeah.
is why specifically in that group class, when we're doing our concert
Yeah.
this weekend, nobody's playing the same piece. Because I don't want that type of comparison.
Yeah.
And we always talk about what was good about everyone's comparison. I think we said last week, it's easy to come with the negatives.
Yeah.
But they get to that 7, 8, 9, and they start to plateau, and it becomes hard.
Now,
And the parents aren't having quite so much fun anymore either, because their kid's not cute and little, and it's not novel for them either.
Yeah, that's just to define things. That's a 8 or 9-year-old who started earlier.
Yeah, 3 or
Not-
4 years before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is one of the reasons I like the group programs, because when they're 8 or 9, that's when they're graduating to privates. And it kind of solves that problem. It's I'm a big kid now kind
Yeah.
of thing. You know, I get to go to the other, and it gives that lift over the hump. But even then, as they get older, they're going to hit a hump. They're going to plateau, and you'll see it. And sometimes the teachers even forget that. I've got this kid, and he's not getting better, and we've been working on the same song. I'll change the song, start number 1.
Yeah.
Let it go. But then all of a sudden, it's like poof, and they get it. And as parents, we forget that. As teachers, we forget that. Kids don't know it. They don't understand this whole idea about plateauing and hitting a wall, and then suddenly you go.
Yeah.
But it's there, and you have to keep at. That's where that commitment and dedication comes to. It's like, I don't feel like I'm getting any better, but I know, because Mom said, because my teacher said, if I keep doing this every day, 6 days, take 1 day off,
Yep.
I am going to get better. And then when they see or they feel it, performing can also really help.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Because then you get feedback. If you're just practicing and never getting out and performing, you don't get any yay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's important.
we stress that a lot here, and you know, about performing. I think the other thing is just playing the same song over and over and over. And we get this in our household, and it's like, you're still playing the same song. Like, seriously? Like, how is that in? How do you get through? How do you work through that when you're going through exams? And yes, so it is a necessary evil. You need to play it well. You need to play it from memory, maybe. How do you keep practice interesting when you're playing the same 2 songs every week for way too long?
Depends on the context, but sometimes I'll add in extra ones that are they're just fluff. They're just fun ones to play that are take your mind off it kind of thing. With more advanced students, sometimes I'll say, okay, we're gonna play the Entertainer, but we're gonna add swing to it, and like play it in a totally different style. It's the same music, but they're playing it with a different outlook, I guess. So that can help sometimes. Depends on the student.
I think, yeah, like kind of to go off what you're saying, bringing playfulness and discovery, because it doesn't matter how many times I've played or performed a piece, I find something new every time I go back to that piece. There's always more to discover. And I think
If it's good.
well-written
music.
Yes. So I'm assuming that you have a piece that is well written. You're using quality repertoire, obviously. But there
You might
is,
discover you don't like it. That's
you
a
might-
discovery.
It is.
Yeah, and that's
It
a
is.
very valid discovery to make, because if you don't like it, okay, that doesn't fit with me. Unfortunately, you might still need to play
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
But that one doesn't feed your soul. That one doesn't
Yep.
work with you. So that's completely valid. But that I find I work really well. I'm competitive with myself. So like making little or using for students like challenges for myself. Okay, this bar, record this bar. Okay, not sounding so good. Okay, so what can we do? How many times can I play it correctly? Or slow it down, just play long tones on every single note. Like there's ways that you can switch it up, playing it in different rhythms that just make it interesting again.
And when
even
it
if
comes
you
to
don't love
technique,
it.
you really need to.
Yeah.
I
Yes,
mean,
that's true.
very few people like practicing their scales, their triads, their arpeggios, all those, the chord progressions. But you can change it to make it fun. You can add dynamics. You can change articulations. You can get a backtracks. Get the iReal Pro out that I love. You've got your rhythm backtrack. Play it with tracks. It's
Yeah.
also going to help as a metronome because no one really likes metronomes. They're necessary. Metronomes are cool when it's drum and bass.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Totally.
Just think of them as tiny drummers and bass players in a box. That's all you think of them as. They all sound the same, exactly.
And to set goals, specific measurable goals.
Yes.
Not, get better for next week. Okay, we need to talk to your teacher about education.
Yeah.
That's not a goal.
No.
Goals need to be specific and measurable. And I
Yeah.
know what we have on our lesson plans is there is a goal every week.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I set that with my student. Okay, I'll give them a choice. If it's a 7-year-old, you're not going to say, what do you want to work on this week?
Yeah.
It's like asking a 4-year-old, what do you want to wear? Here's your whole closet. No, do you want the red top or the blue top?
Right.
We're going to do this or this. Okay, which one do you want to work on? Because if they are making the choice, then they're taking ownership.
Yeah.
And when you take ownership of something, then chances are you're probably going to do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then the next week you're coming back and going, okay, my goal last week was to correct the rhythm and measures 24 to 28. Okay. How did you do?
Yeah.
Was it successful? Was it not
Exactly.
successful? Let's evaluate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
knowing you're still dealing with kids, though, so that's fine. The teacher and the student, and maybe the teacher and the parent outside of the room have the conversation. Here's what's going to
And
happen.
sometimes parents are okay in the room. I won't say all the time. That's a whole other discussion
Yeah.
about parents in classes and privates.
Yeah.
But in some cases, that can be helpful with us.
It can work. So then they go home. The difference between being the cute kid and being at home and spending time with your kid and this all fine helping them practice, what happens as they get older? How does the parent play into this scenario when Mom, Dad, I really don't want you there. I'm going to do my thing. What does that support look like as they get older?
I think it's a gradual shift from the responsibility being on the parent to the student taking more responsibility. And I think that needs to be guided or assisted sometimes by the teacher as well. Like maybe let them, as they get older and as they do become more responsible, maybe it's a parent reminder to go practice, or maybe it's a go practice and then come perform for me.
Mm-hmm.
Show off like what you worked on
Right.
today and do a quick little playthrough. Those are some ways I think that parents can support as it moves forward, doing practice performances in front of families or in front of your stuffed animals, depending on your age, right? Like
Totally.
whatever, like you can set up
And
an
have
audience.
stuffed animals when you're older. It's fine.
Yeah, it's all good. I teach ECE classes. I have so many. I have so many stuffed animals.
We will not get into Prince Andrew here.
Yeah.
Well, that took
That's
a
a whole
turn.
other stuffed
Okay.
animal thing. And if you haven't read that,
Excellent.
just go Google it.
We're don't. Excellent. So it's parents more as time cop and cheerleader, and
Yeah.
from there, and maybe teachers giving with the student in the room, giving the parents, kind of letting the parents off a bit. So it's a bit like, this is gonna be more yours now. Your mom, your dad, whatever, isn't gonna be there and doing that. So it's your
And
responsibility.
that is a
But-
discussion as
It
a
is.
teacher that you're going to have with the parent. It's like, you
Yeah.
know what? It's okay if you step back. He's going to have to show more accountability to me. And if you as a parent have been working on this as you go, I mean, when they start, you're sitting there with them, but as they get older, it becomes, okay, when are you practicing today? Okay, and then checking in, did you practice? Well, I forgot. It's like, okay, well, in that case, this is going to be the plan for tomorrow, and I'll have to get more involved in until they start doing it themselves. It's a gradual process. You can't just go, I am sick of arguing with you, I'm done.
Yeah.
I totally get that feeling. I've had that, I've said that exact speech a few times. But it's a gradual process.
Yeah.
But
So go on.
I was just going to say the support still needs to be there.
Always.
And I think one big thing that can be a pointer for parents is to not forget to praise your child. I have dealt with students and parents in the past who it's nothing but, why isn't your grade higher? Why isn't this? Why aren't you done this? Why is this not? Why? Constantly pushing the student. And that was a theory student. They hated theory.
Of course.
Absolutely hated theory. There's no
Why would you like
surprise there at all.
something that you never ever...
No, exactly. And then I've had other students on the opposite total end of the spectrum where mom is involved, like is taking the lesson with the child. Like when we started, I was like, might be a good idea to go buy a ukulele for you. And then the two of them are working on it together, and it is the most joyful part of their day. So
Yes.
support, and absolutely we do need to back off. Parents do need to back off because we need to become our own individual musician. Right?
It becomes
But-
expectations then
Yeah,
too.
it's expectations.
Right. And that's also where that comparison becomes a problem. That your expectation for your child might not be realistic toward their area of giftedness. Some kids do have more giftedness, musicality, than others. That's okay. Marks are great, but no one cares in 20 years what your mark was.
Nope.
That's not what's important.
No.
Can you play for fun? Are you enjoying it? It's not so much about pushing, and we'll get into this. One thing I just realized we haven't talked about with practice is how long is too long.
We are trying to get there.
Okay.
That would be the cue of too long. Now we're going to move on. Excellent segue. Before we go there, though, like we've talked a lot about a lot of what we've talked about has the feeling that we start young and we go through and we get older. Is practice different for older students who start older?
Absolutely.
So, how?
So I teach group ukulele classes in both young age groups and adult age groups.
Yeah.
And my expectation is totally different for the two. For the students that are younger, it's absolutely, you need to be practicing 20 minutes every day. You need to make it part of your day. You need to, do all this stuff. And there's little tricks. It's like, 20 minutes, that's even shorter than one of your shows.
Yeah.
Like
And break it up. 10 minutes here, 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes there, 10 minutes there. Exactly. With adults, a lot of the time it goes to, what can you commit to? I understand you have a job, you have a life, you're supporting a family potentially. You've got time commitments that need to take precedence over practice. So I don't ask my adult students, how much did you practice? But I will ask my little kids. So the expectation is definitely different. But the understanding is also different. With a student, like you were saying, they don't necessarily know why or how this is going to help or whatever, but they understand, my teacher said practice 20 minutes, I'm going to trust them, I'm going to do that 20 minutes. With an adult, we have the understanding that if I work on something and I continually work on it, I will improve. And so
You would hope.
Yes, one would hope, absolutely. But the self-motivation is then more intrinsic.
Yeah.
So I don't have to push so far. The other thing is the goals are very different. With a group of young students, I'm trying to get them to a certain skill level, trying to get them to a certain point in their abilities. With an adult ukulele class, 99% of the time, the class is just, I want to learn to play this instrument because I think it's fun. Right? If the goal is, I need to play this instrument because I have an audition, that's when I would say, okay, we're going to do a private lesson. That's a different kind of thing here. But in a group setting, it's just, I'm not going to get into the theory. We're going to we'll touch on whatever we need to, but that's not really important. And if it's not fun for you, don't worry about it. If it is, come talk to me after. But generally speaking, it's more fun. And if it's fun, you will practice. I had one student this last week who practiced for 3 hours in one
Having a
sitting.
good time.
Cool.
Yeah, it can happen. Now,
Don't look
I
at me.
would never, ever. Are you in this class?
I might be in this class.
I said nothing.
I'm a little slow. From there.
So how much is too long when you're first
Yeah,
learning
so,
an instrument?
that
and
is
you
a
practice
marvelous
for 3
segue.
hours?
So for all those
You're
all those
6,
students
no.
No.
for all the students out there not practicing 3 hours, you're just not cutting it. You're gonna want to get on that. How much is too much?
3 hours? No, I'm just kidding. I think it depends on the age of the student, also how much you've already worked on it, because you have
Yeah.
to remember that there's muscles
Yes.
involved.
Yes.
So you're building muscles, and the potential for injury is really, really high if you practice too long, and
And
that's
parents don't think about that at all. And
No.
they'll say, well, my 7-year-old's practicing at least 45 minutes to an hour a day, and my face drops.
Yeah.
And this is common, okay?
I wish it wasn't.
I've heard this a lot. They have no idea the damage that can be happening to that 7-year-old's hand because of the additional stress that's being placed on that repetition of movement. That's how
So where's
you can
that
damage.
where's that coming from?
That's an excellent question.
It is an excellent question because it came from
Not
somewhere,
enough
right?
podcasts like this.
Oh.
Who knows?
No, I mean, if you don't
We're not
know,
going
how
to
do you
change
know?
that because we're not sitting in the room with them,
Yeah.
right?
true.
So it's like where is that expectation coming from?
It could be coming from looking at older peers
Mm-hmm.
who do have the ability to practice for longer periods of time. They've built
Okay.
up that muscle. They know how to practice, whatever the reason being. Could definitely be one of those. I don't know for sure, but that's one example.
Okay.
I think it could also be the idea of like more is always better.
Yeah.
I'm
It
also
isn't. Yeah.
I'm a huge proponent of effective practicing,
Yes.
and efficient practicing, not necessarily long practicing.
Not set the timer.
Quality,
Yeah.
not
You're
quantity.
staying there
Quality
until the
over
timer
quantity,
gets until the
exactly.
timer goes off. You have to stay there. That's meaningless practice because
Yeah.
you can do anything and
You have to be focused on the task that you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're trying to remedy, or train in a scale pattern on the ukulele, you need to be focusing on getting that. If you can sit and mindlessly do it, you don't need to practice that anymore.
Yeah.
So move on to something else.
Yeah. Sometimes it is nice to flatter yourself though and go
Oh,
remind yourself of where
absolutely.
you've come from.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
also like the practicing is chunks.
yes.
Chunks like
If you want to go longer, chunk it up.
chunk it out
Absolutely.
and make sure that you're like splitting it up. And for myself on flute, I won't go longer than 50 minutes to 55 minutes at a time if
And
I
it
remember
depends on the instrument.
to stop myself.
Well, yeah, wind
Because
instruments or brass or
Vocally is
like
a completely
vocal.
different practice
Yeah.
than it is playing a piano.
Yes.
I can sit down and practice for hours on piano. I cannot practice for hours vocally. That is just a bad idea.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good I am.
Exactly.
I mean, I'll practice off the chords, so to speak, sotto voce and things.
Yeah.
But you need to know, and I think what you want to use as your guide is your teacher. If the teacher has said, this is what I want them to practice on, and every week you're coming back with way past that, either the child is not working at the appropriate level, or the music is, I lost my train of thought there completely. It just went ching on the other side.
It isn't working, right? And
yeah.
There's something
If
that's
it's,
not
Yeah.
working.
if you need too much time to do what the teacher asked you to do,
yeah,
well then the music, it's too hard, you're working too fast.
too
Yeah.
much, too hard,
Yeah.
too
Exactly.
something.
And
Yeah.
in general, especially if you've got an experienced teacher, they're going to know about how long it's going to take an average child that age to do it. And there's nothing wrong with being average, by the way. That average gets bad rep,
It does.
you know?
Average gets a lot of recording contracts.
Yeah.
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 Like you don't have to, because if you push your kid too much and if you push yourself too much, you're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
You're going to have a kid emotionally, I'm going to get my grade A and then I'm quitting, I'm never playing again. And then that's actually what they do.
Yeah.
That was
Surprise.
money well spent.
Yeah,
Exactly.
wasn't it?
No kidding.
So it's got to be a discussion and trust your teacher. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but some parents just don't seem to trust the person that they're paying to educate their child. If you're paying to educate them, I trust them.
Yeah. If you,
98% at least,
Yeah, exactly.
not 100.
One,
Well, you should trust them 100%. If you don't, you should ask some questions, or you should go
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's a big world, and there's a lot of music educators.
it's
Yeah.
true.
So, and it's a very individualized thing. So,
It is.
no, really, if you want to be really good at it, you don't have to settle for 99%.
Yeah.
I would say, but that's,
I've just had some bad experiences
Yeah.
in the past with students and teachers, so I always,
that's easier
no
to
room
do,
for-
but you're going to say,
No, it's just exactly what you said. Like, if you have concerns, ask questions.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like, why? Because most teachers will have a rationale, or should have a rationale for why they're doing and giving the specific exercises that they're giving, and why are you only asking for this much practice. And
right.
if you have a kid who is really interested and you're concerned about like potentially physical injury, you can always break up. If they're really loving it and they just want to play more, you can break it up. And that works on attention regulation as well, and that's not a bad thing either. So
Sometimes less is more.
sometimes less
Yeah.
is more.
Yeah.
And also your brain usually does better if you like absorb the information, sit on it overnight, and then come back to it the next day.
It's true.
So if you have something that's just not working, sleep on it.
It's the good old only
Yeah.
practice the days you eat,
Yeah.
right? Nobody eats once a week for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
I don't need to. I don't need to eat for the rest of the week. But you'll have kids like that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I practiced for 2 hours yesterday. That makes up for the 4 days I didn't practice. Well, it's
No, it
not
doesn't.
practice then, because it's that regular routine. That's what practice means.
You need to have a fresh mind and you need to have fresh muscles. So the thing
Yeah.
that I always say is listen to your body. If you're having a really hard day focusing on something, that's your day off,
No.
right? Like don't try to force your brain into it. Like as you get older, yes, you can get into that and you can
Or just
figure out
play
ways to
something
do it.
for fun.
But do something for
review
fun. Do
something
something
fun, let it
different.
go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you're playing and you notice something, you're like, oh, that doesn't feel good. Stop. Figure out what is causing that issue. Like for me, it's ukulele. So it's like, am I holding my wrist in a weird position? Am I plucking too hard? Have I cut my finger? Like what? What
And
are
it
all
can
those things?
happen. It can happen to the best of
Absolutely.
us. I'll
Yeah.
end up with a ganglion because I'm overdoing Beethoven.
Yeah.
And then I'm off for months
Yeah.
because,
Exactly.
and I know better.
Right. So it just comes down to listening to your body and being in tune with it and understanding what's normal and what's not. Like there was a girl in university that came to the group of us that were talking one time and said, "Does anybody have Band-Aids?" And I went, "Are you bleeding?" She goes, "Not yet." And I went, "What?" She goes, "I'm going to go practice for 3 hours now." I'm like, "You
Okay.
practice that hard?" And it was like,
So-
yeah, there's
That's
Yeah.
a dancer thing. Dancers are always bleeding.
exactly.
Okay.
That shouldn't
but
happen.
musicians should not be bleeding.
No, it should not happen to that point. Listen to your body. When something starts to feel weird, stop and assess the situation. And like everybody knows that. Like as soon as you start, six years and up, like if it starts to feel weird, stop.
So this is a good start. Let's give people some just some quick tips for students and for parents. We've already learned that if your muscles, are open, don't eat them. That's good.
Yeah.
That is a good tip for cooking as well.
For sure.
Those are probably not good anymore.
Well, it depends on muscles. Like if you're talking the shell,
There you go. One tip, one piece of advice for students about practicing. Short and to the point. What would you tell a student about practicing?
have fun.
Okay. Harold?
Set a accomplishable goal.
Okay.
I would say focus on discovery.
Focus on discovery. Excellent. How about parents? One piece of advice for parents on practicing, on their children practicing learning music.
Don't push them because of what you want them to theoretically achieve. Listen.
Okay.
Praise them.
Oh.
My,
Gotta jump in
my way
fast.
of saying it was going to be
So close.
be a champion, like champion them,
Yeah.
be the cheerleader on the sideline.
Okay.
Obviously, as we talked about, depending on the age where it is, but be their cheerleader.
Cool. Yeah, no, it is not a one size fits all thing. like music, so you have to figure out where you want to go, how you're going to get there, and hopefully you have the right cheerleaders and coaches along with you to get you there. And if you're not having fun, stop doing it. It's okay. There's lots of other
switch.
instruments.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
you may start on piano, you may go somewhere else, you may start on another instrument. It's a big world. You should have, in my opinion, you should have fun playing music
Yeah.
or making music.
What's the point of
Hopefully
If there's-
there's
there's got to be joy at some point.
yeah.
I mean, I hate to lose a student, but if a student no longer has any joy in what they're doing,
You're not doing them any favors.
no.
Or if it's causing stress or anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're not having it may just mean to change up. Okay, no more exams.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? We're just
Yeah.
going to play for fun. We're going to
Exactly.
learn how to do some blues.
Yeah.
All right.
It doesn't mean get rid of music. It could very well mean just change. I think everybody should do music.
I think everybody should too. I think everybody really underestimates the amount of music in their lives in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
The impact of music on the brain is unbelievable, and that's a whole other podcast that we'll probably want to research more first.
Yes.
no,
Not
just
that you ever give us a choice.
not just wing it. It's
we
good.
have been so far.
It's good. So on that note, thanks for joining us. Remember, you can access this on our SoundCloud account, on our YouTube channel. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, would like us to stop, then don't tell us. You can let us know at mpodcast@musicandplay.ca. Well, that's been practicing for this week's topic. We'll be back next week with another mystery topic. Maybe give us one. That would be great. But until next time, we'll see you. And remember, music makes everything better.